Hi, so these are my takeaways after my discussion with Mohammed Haron, who is a Western Cape Premier candidate for the Al Jamaa party. And I spoke to him about Al Jamaa and their offering. It seems it's clear that he comes from good stock. His father is a great man and is a martyr, Imam Harun. Prof. Harun Muhammad. He is generally an academic. He's been an academic all of his life, and seemed like a wise guy, and he would bring a interesting dynamic to politics. The issue of social and economic justice permeates through their manifesto and what he's talking about. But ultimately, they a Islamic and Muslim party. Although he spoke about Bashiri, the preacher from Malawi, coming over to join them, to support them, and a faction of the PAC, there are warning bells there, especially around Bashiri, because he's got criminal charges hanging over him, and they took him on board. So, so that's a one thing. The second thing is, I think he's got a good philosophical approach to some of the challenges. Issues like unemployment, issues like education, issues like crime and so on. Is always working together, getting people together, etc. But practicalities are severely lacking. They're lacking a practical plan. So that's going to be an Achilles heel. They got an interesting manifesto. It reads well, but in terms of the engagements, lacking in practicalities and implementation. I think the issue around equality is going to be a huge Achilles heel, especially how women and men are treated. The approach that man must be the provider, irrespective of whether the woman is highly qualified, highly skilled, and so on, and she's the breadwinner, she earns the money and so on, but the man must still provide. And another problem is the fact that they say around sport, girls can play any sport, but there are certain sports that women shouldn't play, and they look askew against women playing that. Then the approach around the death penalty, they're against it. No, they support the death penalty. It's going to be a huge problem for some who would have supported them. Although he understands there's a need for constitutional change and they can't just impose it. But that's going to be a huge problem. And then it's interesting, the fifth thing for me is they are quite clear around the anti-Zionism, their position around Israel and so on. So they won't work with any of the political parties who they deem to be Zionists or funded by the Zionists. And there's a whole list of parties that they won't work with in terms of go into a coalition around. Whether it's DA, ACDP, Action SA, Freedom Front Plus, Rise Mzansi, all of that. And then when I pose, then what happens if, for example, the ANC and the EFF are also funded by some of those people who white monopoly capital and are so-called Jewish and so on, or Zionists as they call it, then they won't go into coalition talks with all of them, mindful of the fact that I raise the fact that their leader has consistently, on some of the big issues, voted with the ANC or abstained with the ANC, and supported Jacob Zuma. And they had a chance of being an executive authority where the mayor in Joburg is a Al Jamaa mayor. So the problems in Joburg should actually be laid at Al Jamaa, including not primarily all the other their partners, ANC and the EFF, etc., because it's Al Jamaa that who is in charge of Joburg. So I'm not so sure about this party. I'm absolutely not sure about Al Jamaa. But I think it might be useful for someone like, I hope they get enough votes for someone like him to get into the Western Cape Parliament, because I think he's a wise guy. He can add value with perspective. But I think on some of the big issues they are found wanting. So yeah, all the best with your decision in terms of who you're going to vote for.